Let's turn now to Sir Geoffrey Clifton Brown, the MP for the Cotswolds and Treasurer of the 1922 Backbench Committee of Conservative MPs. Good afternoon, Sir Geoffrey.
Good afternoon, Kathy. Great pleasure to be on.
Well, thank you very much for coming on the show on this sunny afternoon. Just first of all, when you look at that report, I'm sure you've read every page of it. Do you support it in its entirety?
No, I can't say I've read every page of it, but I'm familiar with its overall conclusions, and I'm in total agreement with my colleague Tim Lawton. We set up the committee in the House of Commons. All members of Parliament had the opportunity to vote to set up that committee. If we don't support them, we are weakening the disciplinary system in the House of Commons, and we certainly don't want to do that because we want to send a signal to the public that if a member transgresses the norms of behaviour, they will receive a severe sanction. And
Mm.
I think that is absolutely correct.
Are the sanctions over the top, do you think, or about right for someone who's
Well,
repeatedly
I think,
lied to the Commons?
unfortunately, Boris Johnson brought the extra sanctions on himself by not only being sanctioned for the offence itself, but then for causing further contempt to the committee by his words, calling it a kangaroo court, and so on. So I think one could debate the length of sentence, but it's clear that he was going to get a serious sentence, more than the 10 days required for a recall procedure and a probable by-election.
Mm. And do you think the fact that he's now let it be known to his supporters that they shouldn't, have a vote on this on Monday, they should just let it lie, let it rest now. Do you think this is an altruistic move or, not to have a civil war in the party, or is it a recognition that he realises he doesn't have as many supporters as he once did?
I think it's the latter. I mean, I have said on this radio program on a few times when interviewers have been trying to goad me and saying there's huge division in the Conservative Party. I don't think
Goading on Times Radio? Never.
I don't think there is. I mean, I attend the party meeting, as you can imagine, as treasurer of the 22 every week, and I've not detected a huge movement in favour of Boris Johnson. And in fact, I think, if anything, in recent weeks, since the report has come out and the rumours of it, I think that support has withered away. So again, I think Charlotte, your correspondent, is absolutely right. I think it's highly probable on Monday we won't get a vote at all.
Right. And would you like to see Boris Johnson barred from ever becoming a Conservative candidate again? Do you think that ship has sailed and you must make sure that it's sailed?
Well, I don't think he's going to become a candidate under Rishi Sunak. So unless, and I
But in the
hope this,
future?
yeah, let me just answer that. So unless Rishi Sunak, and I hope that isn't the case, loses the election and the party has a complete rethink about Boris Johnson, I can't see him coming back, certainly in the next few years. And I have to say, personally, I'd be surprised if he comes back into frontline politics again.
Mm. I mean, clearly, this is all very tricky for Rishi Sunak. He's tried not to really say very much about the report, but it is going to be hard, if not impossible, for him to shake off the chaos surrounding the Johnson and then the Truss administrations, isn't it?
It's difficult. It's unwelcome. All this sort of, as I call, noise around the place. But what he's doing is slowly, quietly, getting on with doing the job, thinking things through very carefully, working them through, and then coming up with a policy that he expects to be able to implement. And I think he's slowly doing that. There's some really big problems facing the country at the moment, but I think actually he's actually beginning to make quite a good start.
How do you think those by-elections are going to go for him, though?
Well, that's very difficult to say. By-elections are notoriously difficult. I've canvassed in by-elections for the last 40 or 50 years, and we've had some very surprising results, particularly against the government of the day. So I think they'll be tricky, no doubt, but we'll have to just wait and see.
But has the whole fiasco over Boris Johnson basically cost you Uxbridge?
Well, it would have been better if he hadn't brought the whole thing upon himself, and the whole necessity for the Privileges Committee had never happened. But given that it happened, and given that he was likely to have a recall procedure if he had stayed, I think it's all very unfortunate. And I think Uxbridge will be tricky, given the majority that he had at the last election.
Tricky or impossible?
Not impossible. I don't think you ever say a battle's impossible until you get out there and try. So if it's impossible, you don't even bother to try. But I certainly hope to go to Uxbridge myself. And I know a number of my colleagues will, and we'll be campaigning very hard to
Mm.
win.
The problem is with all of this, of course, is that, Boris Johnson, he's not so much a backseat driver as a noisy commentator. He's just signed this deal to do a column in the Mail. He's accused of in doing that, breaching another Whitehall rule with the business appointments. He should have cleared it with the Business Appointments Committee. He didn't until 30 minutes before the appointment was announced. Do you think that's going to be difficult, having him every week sounding off?
Well, Boris has always been a maverick. All through his life, he's been a maverick, and by and large, he's got away with it until this Privileges Committee. Yes, I'm sure that we'll have some fun and games with his column, but that's just democracy and the way we live. We have a free press. Anybody's entitled, subject to the editor of the newspaper agreeing, to say whatever they like. Yes, I'm sure his column will be interesting, and I'm sure it'll cause us a few problems.
At Times Radio, we bring the front pages to life. Tune in to hear me, Cathy Newman, on Drive every Friday, 4 till 7.